The storm impacted the Las Vegas Valley and surrounding areas of southern Nevada between Monday the 17th of November 2025 and Wednesday the 19th of November 2025. A flood watch was issued for the Las Vegas Valley, the Lake Mead area, Clark County, and southern Nye County beginning late Monday night and extending through Tuesday night. Rainfall totals across the valley ranged from about half an inch to 1 inch through Tuesday. For example, Reid International Airport recorded 0.55 inch of rain on Tuesday. In some East Valley neighborhoods, rainfall approached 3/4 of an inch, and nearby Red Rock Canyon recorded about 1 inch on the same day. Localized bursts of heavier rainfall and embedded thunderstorms were also expected, meaning that in some areas the rain rate could have exceeded half an inch in and are during the most intense downpours. The soil across much of the region was already saturated from earlier rainfall, increasing runoff and flood risk. In the higher elevations above 7,000 feet in the Spring Mountains, the moisture translated into a rain-snow mix and snow accumulation of up to 5 to 10 inches. And in some locations above 8,000 feet, totals reached 10 to 16 inches. By Thursday and into the weekend, forecasters expected conditions to trend drier, bringing the region back toward more typical weather patterns for mid-November. From those first official statements onward, the scale of the event became undeniable. This was not only a Las Vegas storm, this was a regional atmospheric surge affecting southern Nevada, the Mojave Desert Corridor, pockets of San Bernardino County, and even parts of eastern California from Pahrump to Death Valley. Anyone living in the southwest knew that rain was always a possibility, but few expected a storm system to settle over the region for nearly 2 days straight, feeding on Pacific moisture and refusing to let the desert breathe. It began quietly Monday afternoon. The sky, normally a blank canvas of dry clarity, started to dim as a thick veil of mid-level clouds crept across the horizon. By 3 p.m. the sun had faded behind a soft gray haze. People leaving work or running errands felt the temperature change first, a subtle coolness, a moist hint in the air that felt out of place in such an arid landscape. Drivers in Henderson noticed the diffused light over the McCullough Range. A few tourists on the strip pointed their phone cameras upward, intrigued by how the neon colors reflected differently on the slowly forming cloud deck. It wasn't raining yet, but the atmosphere was swelling, priming itself for what would become one of the longest sustained November rain events the region had seen in years. By Monday evening, the first drops reached the southern valley. At 8 p.m. a light drizzle moved across Green Valley and Silverado Ranch, enough to make streets shine but not enough to cause trouble. Locals who stepped outside described the rain as soft, almost delicate, an unusual calm before the system fully woke up. The humidity intensified, and the smell of wet dust rose from the desert shrubs. The storm, still forming over Southern California, stretched its influence across the state line. In the area around Baker, California, light rain coated the I-15, turning the normally bone-dry shoulders into patchy streaks of mud. By 10 p.m. the drizzle spread northward toward central Las Vegas, and the National Weather Service issued the first alerts, a flood watch covering all of Clark County, reaching into the Lake Mead National Recreation Area, sweeping north toward southern Nye County, and extending west toward the California border. The watch was in effect until Tuesday night, an unusually long duration for a region accustomed to short, explosive thunderstorms. Residents who received the alert checked their apps and read the updated discussions. Meteorologists emphasized the high moisture content, the slow movement of the system, and the risk that prolonged rainfall would overwhelm drainage basins and washes. Just after midnight, the rain set in firmly. It was steady, rhythmic, and persistent, the kind of rain that doesn't roar but instead occupies every surface, reshaping the soundscape of the entire valley. From North Las Vegas to the southwest communities near Mountain's Edge, a thin but continuous layer of water formed across roads and sidewalks. People working night shifts shared videos online, showing windshield wipers struggling to keep pace with the increasing rain rate. One rideshare driver filmed water running along the gutter near Tropicana Avenue, captioning the footage with, "This is not monsoon season, what is happening?" Across the California state line, the storm deepened over the Mojave National Preserve. The creosote flats glistened in the darkness, coated with a sheen of moisture rarely seen outside brief monsoon bursts. Near Prim, tractor trailers slowed as crosswinds pushed water sideways across the asphalt. In Pahrump, Nevada, lying between the mountains and open desert plains, early puddles began forming along local roads. The community there, accustomed to desert dryness, saw the first signs of what would eventually become notable overnight accumulation. By 3 a.m. Tuesday, the Las Vegas Valley had already absorbed several hours of uninterrupted rainfall. This alone made the event unusual. Most desert storms arrive violently and depart quickly, leaving behind dramatic lightning, short bursts of hail, or microbursts that disappear within minutes. But this storm never rushed. Instead, it hovered over the region, wringing itself dry hour after hour. The washes, those carved channels built precisely to contain sudden deluges, began carrying streams of runoff, their echoes deepening under bridges and culverts. Videos posted online showed the first real movement in the Flamingo Wash, water pushing along debris and desert sediment. Around 4 a.m. another surge of moisture pushed in from the southwest. Rainfall rates intensified across Henderson, Paradise, and the East Valley. People driving to early morning shifts felt their tires glide over shallow sheets of water, creating momentary loss of traction. Some intersections began to pond. Streetlights reflected sharply against the wet pavement, sparkling like a second city overlaid onto the first. By 5 a.m. the storm had strengthened enough for the National Weather Service to re-emphasize the risk of flash flooding. Phone alerts woke residents, and early commuters checked their routes before attempting to leave their neighborhoods. The heaviest rainfall so far fell between 5 and 7 a.m. just as the morning rush began. School buses navigated through growing pockets of water, emergency crews monitored the busiest intersections, and drivers on the 215 Beltway reduced their speed beyond what traffic cameras normally capture. As dawn broke, the full extent of the storm became clear. The mountains north and west of the valley were wrapped in thick cloud cover. In the spring mountains, temperatures dropped significantly, allowing the moisture to fall as a rain-snow mix above 7,000 feet. At elevations above 8,000 feet, near Caw Canyon and portions of Lake Canyon, the snowfall totals climbed quickly, reaching 10 to 16 inches by Tuesday afternoon. Even lower elevations experienced a blend of sleet and wet snowflakes that melted on contact with the ground. Across the Las Vegas Valley, rain continued steadily, gradually raising totals. By late morning, areas in the East Valley neared 3/4 of an inch. Red Rock Canyon reached around 1 inch of rainfall. Trails turned muddy, the sandstone cliffs darkened into deep red and maroon tones, and small rivulets cut through the desert soil, carrying clay-rich water toward the lowlands. Visitors who attempted early hikes quickly turned back, soaked by relentless moisture and surprised by the unusual November conditions. Meanwhile, in Southern California, the system delivered widespread rain across the Mojave Desert. Areas around Barstow, Baker, and the eastern edges of the San Bernardino Mountains accumulated steady rainfall that made Interstate 15 glisten like a winding mirror through the desert. In Death Valley National Park, the storm was especially noteworthy. Though rainfall totals remain modest compared to mountainous areas, even a fraction of an inch there can generate powerful, sudden flows through slot canyons and open basins. Rangers monitored conditions closely, aware that the saturated soils upstream could cause travel hazards in low-lying areas. Back in Las Vegas, the midday rainfall hit its peak. Between 9:45 a.m. and noon, rainfall rates climbed sharply in many parts of the valley, with some bursts exceeding half an inch per hour. For a city engineered around the assumption of dry skies, this level of sustained rain quickly pushed systems to their limit. Drainage inlets clogged with debris, parking lots filled with ankle-deep water. Businesses placed caution cones at their entrances to prevent slips. One casino employee near Flamingo Road recorded a video of water flowing down a ramp into a loading area, a rare sight in mid-November. The noise of the storm became a constant backdrop, rain hammering rooftops, water running through gutters, emergency sirens echoing through the city. At Reid International Airport, planes taxied cautiously. Runway teams worked continuously to clear water from the tarmac. Several flights experienced delays, and passengers posted pictures of raindrops streaking down aircraft windows, joking about how they didn't come to Vegas for Seattle weather. On the Strip, tourists alternated between fascination and frustration. Some huddled under awnings, watching water ripple through crosswalks illuminated by neon signs. Others embraced the novelty, walking through puddles while filming themselves laughing in the rain. But for locals, The concern was more practical. Grocery store parking lots became shallow lakes. Roads in Industrial Road and Koval Lane collected runoff. Areas near the Tropicana Wash saw water flowing at speeds that made crossing dangerous. By mid-afternoon Tuesday, the storm still showed no sign of letting up. Cloud layers remained thick and stable, anchored by an atmospheric river feeding moisture inland. Regional meteorologists described the event as a persistent moisture plume, a term rarely used for southern Nevada except in winter systems. This was not a typical Pacific storm front sweeping east. It was a slow-moving conveyor belt of moisture stretching from the ocean into the Mojave Desert. In Pahrump, conditions worsened as the storm continued. Residential streets saw increasing runoff, especially near the base of the mountains where water drained from higher elevations. The normally dry desert between Las Vegas and Pahrump shimmered with standing water collecting in natural basins. Some agricultural areas experienced muddy fields and minor erosion along property boundaries. To the west, in California's high desert communities, the storm carved temporary streams across open land. The smell of wet creosote and damp Joshua trees drifted through the air, a sensory experience unlike anything found in the desert during the summer months. Residents in places like Lucerne Valley, Apple Valley, and the Mojave Basin felt the rare chill of a November storm soaking into the ground, replenishing pockets of soil that had been parched for months. As Tuesday evening approached, the Las Vegas Valley reached its highest rainfall totals. Many gauges reported between 0.5 and 1 inch across the city. The airport's recorded 0.55 inch drew attention, as it represented a large share of the city's annual precipitation delivered in just one day. East Valley neighborhoods that approached 0.75 inch saw significant pooling, prompting warnings for drivers to avoid underpasses and low-lying roadways. The Flamingo Wash carried a strong, steady flow into the afternoon, and the Las Vegas Wash, fed by countless small streams and drainage inlets, ran deeper and faster than usual. Throughout the night, the storm slowly weakened, but the ground remained saturated. Even lighter rainfall generated runoff. Emergency crews stayed active, monitoring problem areas. On social media, locals shared images of waterlogged yards, swollen washes, and the unique sight of puddles reflecting casino lights. By Wednesday morning, the system had mostly moved east, though lingering showers continued in scattered parts of Clark County. Cloud cover thinned, revealing glimpses of the spring mountains dusted with fresh snow. Roads slowly dried, though some areas remained muddy or slick. The valley exhaled, tired, damp, and marked by one of the more unusual November storms of recent years. In California, skies brightened as well. The Mojave Desert emerged from the storm refreshed. Joshua tree forests stood darkened by moisture. Sand flats were smooth and compacted. Low basins sparkled with temporary pools. Residents in desert towns stepped outside into crisp, cool air, listening to the last drops fall from tin roofs and creosote branches. By Thursday, the region returned to its familiar rhythm. Sunlight warmed the valley. The storm drains emptied, the washes quieted. But people remembered the rare, nearly 2-day stretch when the desert transformed, when Las Vegas, Pahrump, Red Rock Canyon, the Spring Mountains, and large parts of the Mojave all felt the touch of a long, persistent, soaking November storm that arrived without thunder, without drama, yet reshaped the entire landscape with patient, relentless rain. And in the end, the storm left behind a week's worth of conversations. Videos, photos, and impressions from snow-covered peaks to neon-lit puddles, capturing a moment when the desert, unexpectedly, felt almost coastal, wrapped in steady rain from one day into the next.